very simple. This is how it should be done.
Please cooperate and do your part in keeping this theater quiet so everyone, including you, can enjoy the show.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me here. I am honored to be here. My name is Normarai, and I am a proud Canadian and Chinese-Jamaican descent. I've been an ambassador for digital culture since the advent of high-speed internet in the late 90s, and I am a passionate outdoor snow enthusiast since the late 80s. Snowboarding is my life. Everything else is just details. And today I'd like to share with you how I use gratitude to harmonize with the world around me. Now, nobody likes being told what to do, so I'm not about to do that. Instead, I'm going to share with you how I do things. And if you can glean anything from the way that I do things, I encourage you to take it, embrace it, make it your own, and act from a place of love and understanding. Now I recognize and am thankful for the bubble that I've lived in my entire life. It started when my parents immigrated to Canada from Jamaica in the 70s when Trudeau #1 opened up the country. Now the Jamaican motto is out of many, one people. And what I'd like to think is the Canadian version of it is that out of many, one people freezing our asses off together. Just pay your taxes and keep your stick on the ice, eh? When I was 2 years old, my dad fell ill with ALS, that's amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. It's also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. And basically, it is a rare motor neuron disease where your brain sends signals to your body, but your body just doesn't listen. You become a prisoner in your own body. My father couldn't walk or talk, and even to this day, I still don't know what his voice sounds like. The prognosis for people with ALS is about 1 to 2 years, but my dad lived for 8 years with the disease in a chronic care wing of Scarborough General Hospital in Toronto. How much 8 years of hospitalization would cost anywhere else in this world just boggles my mind. How blessed we are to live in a country where universal health care is a right. My dad died in 1985 when I was 10 years old, and I came face to face with the universal hard truth that most things in life have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And at some point in time, this body will stop working, regardless of who you are, who you choose to be, or whom you pray to. Now, growing up in Toronto, I had a very skewed view of the world because it's pretty much the United Nations with everyone freezing their asses off together. I remember this one time I was in a cab and I was heading home from a friend's place, and I said to the cab driver, I got $9, take me to as close as this address as possible and I'm gonna walk the rest of the way. And on the drive there I asked him, where are you from? And he said, West Africa. And I asked, what country? And he said, Ghana. And so I said, Midase. And he said, what? You speak Tree? And I replied, no. And he asked, then how did you know how to say that? And I replied, I simply had to ask. Because in Toronto, everyone is there. When you make an effort to embrace someone else's culture, even just as simple as saying thank you, it makes a difference. So clearly he drove me all the way home. And on the way there, I said to him, dude, I've seen the difference it's made in you, but I'd like to hear it from you. How did me saying thank you in your native tongue change the way you're treating me? And he said, it immediately made me interested in what you had to say. That's the power of gratitude, just a small thing. All you have to do is ask. Now, I didn't really experience racism in Toronto to the extent that other places do because, well, in Toronto, white people are the minority. Being surrounded by every race, creed, color, religion, and orientation is the norm when you live in the most multicultural city in the world. I didn't experience it until I came out west in 2005 and realized that not every place is like Toronto. Being the only person of color in a room or a bar was foreign to me. I remember one Sunday morning, actually it was just down the street here, I was standing outside of the Source skate and snowboard shop, just shout out to the Source, and I was just waiting for a friend, and then all of a sudden, a police van drove up, and I thought to myself, here goes. The police officer pulls down the window and says, you weren't just drinking a beer now, were you? And I looked at him, smiled, and said, no, officer, just waiting for a friend. Then he asked, what's your name? To which I replied, am I being arrested or detained? And immediately, he wound up his window and sat there. And I smiled and was like, I don't got time to talk to the cops. I don't got time to talk to you. And I also know what my rights are. I also know that there are different ways to exercise those rights because I've found that in the past, people screaming, "I know my rights and you can't do that," doesn't really work out too well for people. So instead, what I choose to do is ask the right questions. Have the police officer tell me what my rights are. For me, it starts with behave myself. Because if I'm walking down the 17th Avenue drinking a beer and smoking a joint, I really can't bitch if a cop pulls me over. But behave myself, and then next, exercise my rights by asking the right questions. As a lawyer friend once shared with me, do not talk to the cops. That's their job. My job is to talk to the lawyer, and their job is to talk to the cops. So by asking if I'm being arrested or detained, I just keep asking the same question, and whether I get a yes or a no answer. If he says yes, then he has to tell me what I'm being arrested for, and then I can show him my ID. But if he says no, I'll just say, then it is my understanding that I am free to go. Now, that experience is different for me than it is for some of my Caucasian friends, but these are some of the things that I had to learn growing up. And I'm okay with it because I recognize that this country may not be perfect, but there are so many things to be thankful for. I'm thankful that we live in a country that celebrates diversity. It's not perfect, we've got a long way to go, but there are so many things to be thankful for. I'm thankful that we live in a place where health and education is a right, not a privilege. I'm thankful that a drag queen can host and MC a pride celebration while someone stands on the stage translating her raunchiness into sign language for the hearing impaired. And I'm thankful that we can come together on a cold, sunny Saturday afternoon to help the most vulnerable people in our province. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me without prejudice. Stay safe, stay rad, give more than you expect to receive, and be excellent to one another.
Take that bullshit, turn it into good shit. Come on. Take that bullshit, turn it into good shit. Take that bullshit, turn it into good shit. Come on. Take that bullshit, turn it into good shit. Take that bullshit, turn it into good shit. Come on.